Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 154 of the Magic Beans podcast. My name is Cracker, and I will be your host for this episode. And I'm joined by my good mate, Chewy. How you doing?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Just you and me this week. Shorty is unfortunately been struck down with the Rona.
First time for him. Yeah, he's dodged it so far.
Yeah. And still flat out doing Invi prep.
Yeah.
So,
I think
thank you, Shorty.
He's been like doing an hour's work, then passing out for a couple of hours, doing an hour's work, passing out for a couple of hours. So, yeah, he's getting it done. But, yeah, thinking of you, mate, and hope you're getting better. And Stu, whilst dodging the Rona bullet, a lot of his workmates are not. So he's doing some extras at work. So, yeah, just you and me at the moment. So
that's right, mate. We can do it.
Just, you know, the most resilient, the most
here we go.
The most organised for the time, because, you know, I've got multiple team members with COVID at home, at work as well and stuff, but, you know, I'm still fronting up, so because we love it. And we've got a lot to talk about. It's a pretty big weekend coming up, right?
We do have a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, how is this weekend possible, mate? How are we able to do all this stuff?
Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. So, yeah, it's our Invi this weekend, and that is a culmination of the 2022 tournament series. And Josh and Pat's the sponsor of that, as well as all things Magic Beans. And they are providing a large percentage of the prize support. And they are a Facebook auction page. So, yeah, please support them so they can continue to support us by going to jpmtgbazaar.com.au. That'll take you to their Facebook auction page, nightly auctions, win it now posts, premium auctions on the weekend. They've got a full-time auctioneer, which means their communication and their shipping is second to none. The packaging is next level. So, yeah, hit them up, get bidding, and please tell them that the Beans sent you.
Very nice, mate. Well done. So, yeah, as you said, this weekend, and basically the whole of this podcast is going to be talking about the Invi that we've got coming up on Saturday. Mate, it's been a whole year coming, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, we've had a great tournament series this year. We've done some things a little bit differently. We've done some limited one-day events. We did an Explorer League. So we've mixed it up, kept it interesting. We've seen some epic Magic played. We've had some great final streams that we've done. Like, credit where it's due, Shorty's done. Like, if you look at our stream at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday and compare it to even last year's Invi, where we, you know, pulled out all of the stops, it's just next level again. So, yeah, the coverage is going to be epic. Hopefully we've gotten better at commentating, and yeah, we've got our 16 best / most consistent players and a pretty stacked prize pool, right? What are we playing for?
We're playing for, it totals up to just over $3,000 in cash and prizes.
That is, which is absolutely insane. Like,
for free tournaments, pretty good.
And we've given away thousands over the course of the year as well. So
we'll be up over $6,000 by the time we're all done for the year, which is amazing.
Which is massive. So that's all of our merch sales, magicbeanscast.com for your merch store. All of our Twitch subs, any donations, and then the other 99% of it comes from Josh and Pat. So it's absolutely massive. So we'll talk about like the prize breakdown a little bit. We've got the metagame, but we've got one of the things that we're doing differently this year is we're not just doing a top 8. We've got a top 16. So it's going to be massive. So strap in for a very, very long stream.
So many matches to watch. We were looking at the running list for Saturday, and oh boy, it is wall-to-wall Magic, and like, I'm pumped and nervous at the same time.
I think I might need a fisherman's friend at some point, just to keep my voice going. You know, if even someone who talks as often as me is worried about the amount that they need to talk, you know that there's the magic happening. So, really, really excited by this because it's it is our best players, our most exciting players. We've got a lot on the line. Not only is there the cash and prizes to 3K, like we mentioned, but there is just the prestige that comes with being the Invi winner and the banter, and there's a special group on our Discord for previous Invi winners.
And it's 12 months of just flexing on people, right?
Exactly. And, and it guarantees you a spot next year as well.
Does, which is one of the things I like the most about it, is that, you immediately get your invite back, which I think is great because, you got to beat the best to be the best, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a nice little bit of running commentary throughout the year as well, or it's like, I had to play Jedis. I lost to Jedis. That's okay. He's the Invi winner. I don't feel so bad. And, it gives you a bit of status there. But then there's a token, which is very cool. So one of the things that Josh and Pats do is collaborate with an artist. So when you do win an auction or a Win It Now post with Josh and Pat, so they have a library of tokens that you can select from, and they'll send you some, and they're great. So 2/2 goblins and things like that are quite expensive. You can get. So you get to make a custom one. So we had a turns counter from Jedi. We had a Not the Threat token, and I've done a bit of a survey of the players, and we'll show these on coverage. So tune in for the details. But part of our player profile is asking them what token they would have, and there's some bangers. There's some people that want to win just based solely on their token selection. So it's a very, very cool thing. And the token's got the Josh and Pats and Magic Beans logo on the back, but, it is your token, it's your likeness, it's your design. So it's something that, you can keep forever, which is...
Love it. All right. So, mate, like we said, we've got... Normally when we come into the finals, we kind of do a bit of a breakdown of all of the decks, and we get kind of right into the weeds, but there's 16 this time. So it's way too hard to go card by card and kind of do that level of analysis. And, last time I did one with ties and we got into who we thought had good matchups against everyone. There's so many moving parts and so many people. This time we've decided to kind of just give a bit of a meta breakdown, how we see things breaking up, and then I guess, getting into cards a little bit. Obviously, we can't help ourselves but talk about the decks and some of the card choices, but we're not going to give you the full 75 for all 16 players. The deck list will be available on the stream and things, so if people want to check them out, we'll be posting
and we'll share them to our Discord
the match goes
as
up.
Well.
Absolutely.
After this cast goes up. But one thing I not doing in depth, like you said, but a couple of things have jumped out at me.
Yeah,
there are. And you think back 12 months ago, 2 years ago, how the mighty have fallen. There are 2 basic forests in the entire top 16.
It's insane, isn't it?
Like, whoa. There's a lot more swamps than forests.
There are many, many swamps.
So, yeah, very, very interesting there. So, we'll call out, points of interest like that, but we'll just talk about, what the decks do, interesting cards, important cards for matchups, and sideboards as well. So, and then how we think that deck and / strategy matches against the field. So why don't we start with the deck that's going to make up the most of the field then? And we've got Mardu Angels. So we have a full 4 players who have brought Mardu Angels. We've got Wonga Sith, Sarah Soldiers, Plunks, and Insanity. It's the most represented deck in the Invi, and it's kind of the new hotness. It's something that it's sort of sprung up with Brothers War, and we were in Sydney just a couple of weeks ago, and there was a standard 5K. I don't know if anybody was playing this, so it's very, very recent, and we've got 25% of our players have jumped on. So we're calling it Mardu Angels. It's a Mardu mid-range deck that just has some angels in it, really. Like, it's not like the life gain, the 2/4 thing, or the, that gains life with toughness. No, it's not like the Green White Angels that we've seen previously. No, but it's there are some angel synergies. All of the decks are playing Giada, Font of Hope, which, is a pretty solid 2-drop, like 2 mana, 2/2 Flying Vigilance. Great. But then pumps up your angels and taps for Angel Mana is pretty solid card. So I think the all of our Angels decks, I'm just confirming that now, they're all playing 4 of, yes. So
yeah, and they're all playing Inspiring Overseer, either 3 or 4 copies it looks like, to chain into your turn 3 play.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
like the immediate payoff on Gyada. So, put a +1/+1 counter around and gains you a little bit of life and, draws a card. So, yeah, kind of into that synergy. But it's a little more disruptive.
It is. So it's got things like Archangel of Wrath as a way to, interact with your opponent's board. It's got some, I think everybody's playing some number of Go for the Throats, but then we've got there's Valorous Stance from Autolycus with just some Destroy Evils and Cut Downs from Sarah's Soldiers. There was also there's a few Brotherhood's End as well, which is an interesting new card and something that I've not actually played with this card. So it's a red and 1 sorcery modal card. Choose one. It deals 3 damage to each creature and planeswalker, or destroy all artifacts with 3 or less. So we've got those in varying numbers between main deck sideboards. So I'm not sure that there's a lot of the Rakdos Anvil type sacrifice deck that just insta dies to this, but there's but it's still got
I guess it's good against soldiers is probably the thought there, right? Like if that's one of the matchups you're trying to shore up by being slightly bigger mid-range deck, if you're trying to, hopefully sweep up all the soldiers before they can kind of go wide and get out of hand. I think that's probably what it's in there for.
Yeah, I think so. And, disappointed that Sarah's Soldiers isn't playing the blue-white soldiers deck. So.
Yeah. That's okay.
But we'll give her a pass just this once.
We'll forgive her.
Yeah.
There is quite a bit of variance between them. Like some of the lists are playing Shieldred, some of them are playing Wandering Emperor. There's one that's playing, some copies of, I saw Thalia kicking around in one of them as well. So, like, even though we've kind of lumped them together, the core of the deck is very similar, but there's still a lot of different choices that people have made as well. Some have got Bankbuster and things. So,
yeah, and
they're not the same 75 by any stretch.
No, they're not the same archetype, but there's definitely some commonality. Like everybody's playing Blood Tithe Harvester because it's probably just there's 2 drops in standard. And Sarah Paragon is a great angel to buy back your angels. But speaking of buying back, I think every one of the deck is playing Lisa, Forgotten Archangel. So I haven't seen this in Constructed. My opponents always seemed to have it in Limited. But yeah, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that to its owner's hand at the beginning of next end step. And then if your opponent's creatures die, they get exiled. So really important for the mirror with, Sarah Paragons running around and things like that as well. So yeah, and they're all Fable decks, right? Like, and that's probably the most common card. I haven't actually counted them up, but like everybody, there's probably 12 decks.
Yeah, they all have 4
Fables. Yeah,
all these ones do.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then if we look at there's 4 Fables there. No, 4 Fables.
I mean, it's pretty good argument that it is the best card in Standard, right? And that has been for a long time.
Yeah,
so it's definitely one of the big draw cards to be in red.
Yeah, when we're when we're looking back in 10 years' time, talking about this Standard, reminiscing to some new player, we'll tell them the Fable, the Mirror Breaker. I'm sure we will. I know I will now. I'm gonna lock that one away. Put that one in the vault.
Yeah. Can you lock it up and just never find it again?
It's a good thing to just reflect on Kiki Jiki and get it, Reflections of Kiki Jiki.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. All right, Shorty will be ready with the soundboard on the weekend for the womp womps whenever I make these jokes.
The sad trombone is going to get a workout.
Yeah, might wear that button a bit. So what do you think? What's your impression of the Mardu Angels decks? So how do you feel they? Is this a deck you would play?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm not the hugest fan of mid-range piles, and they all feel like a variant of mid-range piles. They seem really strong. Like, just looking at the individual card quality is just super high, right? Like, red and black have obviously been dominant, and just white as well. White gives you so many good things. So, like, they're probably the 3 best colours in Standard at the moment, I think is not much of a stretch. There's some blue cards that are good, but, like, I don't know. It seems strong. It doesn't... I'm not drawn to it. I don't look at any of these interactions and think, wow, that's really amazing, and I'm really excited to try and do that sort of thing. I mean, you know, like Lisa into Brotherhood's End and sweeping up a couple of your creatures and then picking them up and recasting your Inspiring Overseer for value the next turn and drawing another card. Like, that's cool. I like that. And like sweeping the board and exiling your opponent's creatures, that seems strong. Like, there's some interactions like that I'd be pretty keen to see turn up. But, you know, it's mostly like incremental value, stick my bomb, protect it with some removal spells, and win the game.
I agree. And just looking at them, you know, knowing that it's 25% of the metagame, we will see a mirror match at or multiple mirror matches. You know, it is double elimination. Both Plunks and Autolycus have got a copy of Farewell in their sideboard, and if they manage to draw that in the sideboarded games, it could go a really, really long way to to winning the game. You know, there's going to be blood tokens, there's going to be Reckoner Bankbusters, there's going to be sagas, as well as, you know, all of the angels that we spoke about. And with Lisa and Sarah Paragon, you know, just turning off their recursion engines by just exiling everything, and, you know, setting that up and firing that off could be a real key card in the mirror, I think. So I think those guys are set up quite well for that, probably better than some of the others. So the others might, you know, more tuned towards other matchups, but I think, yeah, if they had their time again, they might want to maybe add it in a second copy, although there's a Mishra's command for auto, which is really interesting as well. So that's going to give them a lot of play and a lot of options to potentially beat the mirror, and, you know, it's a 5 men away to kill a Sheoldred worst case. So yeah,
I mean, you've got Valorous Stance for that, which seems like a better option, but, you know, that's fine.
Yeah,
go for the throats as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely options there, but it's a you know, you have to kill Sheoldred, and that's why people are playing Destroy Evil, and you know, it's you've just kind of got to. And look, there's Wedding Announcements and Fable of the... It's rarely a dead card, but it's a Sheoldred. Everybody's deck is built with Sheoldred in mind. So, and Fable.
Yeah, either playing it or killing it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, really interesting. So, mid-range pile, a little bit of synergy. Well, like, probably more synergy than it appears on the surface, but
yeah, they almost always is.
Yeah, and, you know, there's, you know, the mana bases are interesting and potentially painful, with, you know, full complement
battlefields and caves and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's like 11, 12 painlands running around in the in each of these mana bases. So it's not quite the fetch shock mana base, but yeah, those points potentially add up and may be important in a race. So yeah, interested to see if that comes into well. So yeah, that's Amato Angels. It's a new hotness. If you've played some ladder, you've probably seen it. And I think it's going to reward being for the players that have practiced the most, and obviously the better players who might see some of those obscure lines and, you know, capitalize them. So a lot of decisions, I guess, when I look at this. There's a lot of modes, there's a lot of sequencing, there's a lot of what do I get back, what do I discard to my sort of, or Fable. So yeah, very, very interesting. The next most represented deck is a bit of a drop off, but we've got 2 Rakdos decks at the table as well. So it's a who do we got? We've got Jedi's Walker, reigning Invi champion, and Map, who
we've got Penchair.
Penchair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first place finisher. on top of the standings. Yeah. So I was shooting a couple of messages backwards and forwards to Penshare this week, and I was asking him how he felt about the deck now that he'd seen the metagame and things. And he was saying that he didn't have a huge amount of time to test leading into this, but he had played this pretty close list at the 5K in Sydney a couple of weeks back.
That he top 8'd, yeah.
And so his thought around this and that as well was it's a really good deck and he knows how to play it. And rather than trying to shoot for like a perfect 75 or like the new hotness or whatever, he's leaning into his player skill and knowledge of how the deck works to be his edge. And
when you're as good as Penshare, you can do that. You're not looking for...
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. But it's a bit like... it's a really common approach in Modern, right? Where it's just like, this is my deck. I know how to play this. I know what to do in the matchup. I've got a sideboard plan against the popular decks. And even though there might be, more exciting or potentially more powerful decks out, I don't know them. So at the moment, my highest win rate is going to be what I know. And when Penshare is Penshare, that's a winning strategy often. So...
Yeah, I mean, look, you just chain Invoke Despairs and Shieldreds and that wins, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
yes,
it's just... this is, straight Rakdos, so these are kind of the greatest hits of the last year in terms of black-red cards. It's got kind of everything you think that would be there, Underdogs and Blood Tithe Harvesters, a couple of Lilies in some of these, some Fables.
Graveyard Trespassers.
Trespassers. New pickup in Phyrexian Fleshgorger, to the surprise of nobody. That card is nutty.
I had one of those in sealed the other day. Yeah, it was pretty nice. I played it as a 3/3. They killed it, and then I emergency welded it back, and then played it as played it for 7, and they scooped. It was that's how the game works.
Yep.
So it's a very, very good Magic card.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it's a great addition, and there's a nice little sprinkling of the prototype Phyrexians throughout the top 16 as well.
Yeah, there were definitely some in the Angels list as well, which we didn't point out. But
yeah, and some of the we're talking about Rakdos at the moment, but there's some what did Royce call it? The moist Rakdos decks, the Grixis decks are...
we'll get to that one in a minute.
Yeah. It's a great card. Heaps of removal, abrades, cut downs, go for the throats, soul transfers, lilies. Blood Tithe Harvester being copied with Fable of the Mirror Breaker as a removal spell is definitely a powerful interaction that comes up in the mid-range battles where you just get that constant incremental advantage where you're getting a blood token to cycle away excess lands and killing one of your opponent's creatures. Things like that definitely come up in the red-black based decks of both, blue and non-blue varieties. So yeah, it's interesting, very, very interesting. And I mentioned the pain lands in the Angels deck. So Penshare's got 11 basics in his list, so a lot less painful, and that's the blessing of playing just 2 colors rather than 3.
Kind of, you're right, but at the same time, he's also playing 4 copies of Xander's Lounge, which is a tap land.
It is,
so it's the Grixis tap land. So there is that. It does, but it also cycles. So it's not like it's a dead card or anything like that. But there's definitely some downside. But yeah, definitely like the fact that you get just so many enters untapped lands and without necessarily doing yourself a huge amount of damage. Because these decks will often come down to a race in one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hitting land drops is very important as well. So there's, I guess, different races in mid-range matchups. So maybe this is a topic for maybe an evergreen, but
sure.
There's the race to your 5th land. And then there's a race to your key cards, and then there's a race to the life hurdles. So that's pretty much how a lot of mid-range battles go. And 25 lands So, mod magic, a high land count, but 4 of those do cycle. And then you've got blood tokens and Liliana do that, but you really want to hit Invoke Despair on 5.
You just can't afford to miss.
Exactly, yeah.
Stumbling on 3 mana is kind of backbreaking.
Yeah.
In these sort of decks. I mean, that is why you have Fable and things like that to just kind of churn through it to find the lands, because stumbling for 1 turn is bad. Stumbling for 2 is kind of just game over. If your opponent's on a similar sort of deck and they're just hitting lands every turn, because they just get to play their more powerful spells and they get to double spell and you just get buried in advantage.
Absolutely. In Penchair's removal suite, and I just need to check if the other red-black playing as well. But a Braid, and a Braid is...
Yeah, they've both got 2 copies.
Yeah, which is... and some of the Grixis decks are as well. So, hits things like Reckoner Bankbusters and Unlicensed Hearst after the thing, but also hits the Phyrexians. Which is,
it does.
Yeah. So these games will go long. Everyone's playing a lot of lands. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. Playing 7 mana for your Flesh Gorger is going to happen. And having a 2 mana answer to that, incredible.
I mean, it is, but it also is 2 mana and 7 life.
Yes.
So you can't just sit there and not do that, but yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good card. What can we say?
Yeah,
sure. Having a Braid, it's better than, Soul Transfer and 7 life, but obviously, you kill everything else, and then that's what you want to do. But yeah, it's a good addition and a required addition, so good pick up from the players.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I guess we touched on the Grixis decks a little, and they're the next most represented deck. Same shell, right? They're the same Harvesters, Invoke Despairs, Removal Suites, Fable the Mirror Breakers, etc. Sheldreds, obviously. But what does blue give us? And we've got, we've got Rolling Royce, we've got Hemsey, we've got, a bunch of players on the Alexis plan.
So I'm just looking at Hemsey's list, and the blue splash we've got here is for Kaito. We've got a copy of Evangel of Synthesis, which is a card I definitely didn't know existed before. But it's blue-black for a 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, draw then discard. And as long as you've drawn and discarded 2 or more cards this turn, it gets +1/+0 and has Menace. So attacks as a 3/3.
A 2 mana 2/3, fine. And then some synergies there with Kaito and Blood Tithe Harvester and Fable, right? So
yeah. Yep. The other things we've got is Make Disappear, so good counterspell, and Blade Coil Serpent. So, you can pay blue into that and draw a card, or black and opponent's discard, or, red and it gets +1/+0 and trample and haste. So lots of different modes on that, and kind of all of them individually are powerful. So if you can, get to trigger each of them once when you're casting it, that's pretty great.
That's living the dream, right? Yeah.
It is. But I mean, look, it's certainly possible, that the mana base, painful, we've got an island.
And a swamp.
And a swamp. That's it. 2 basics.
So there's Underground Rivers, Sulphurous Springs, and Shivan Reef in there as well. So, yeah, and then the...
Are they whiteboarded?
Unfortunately, not an option on Arena, because, Shorty would be all about that.
Yeah.
So, this is a really interesting... so there's a cost to playing 3 colours. Sometimes you don't draw them, but the mana base is pretty good too. 4 copies of Xander's Lounge. You're like half a turn slower, but you've got more interaction, and you've got some, longer game, like with Kaito, and the Blade Coil Serpent. So, yeah, the bigger mid-range deck against the red-black deck, I guess, is the... it's kind of just a different interaction suite, right? And it's just how that lines up.
Sort of, because I'm looking at Jedi's list here, and his blue cards are just Corpse Appraiser, which super strong card, and then a copy of Disdainful Stroke and Kaito in the sideboard, and then a Gate. So there's a few random things, and then Blade Coil Serpents again. But this is very much like a red-black kind of deck.
Yeah, it's absolutely
it's a very
red-black
light
based.
touch.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Whereas Lyndon's is somewhere in between the two, and he's got some Urtai Resurrected, some Make Disappears, and then Corpse Appraisers again, and then, like a couple of, sideboard cards again. So, yeah, definitely different approaches. There's still kind of that shell.
Yeah, so let's have a look at their sideboards to see, what do we see in their sideboards that is going to be, a potential mirror breaker or something that's going to be good against other decks in the meta that we've seen. So,
I mean, Disdainful Stroke seems like a house. Like, every deck is playing things that have 4 mana value or higher, except for probably the, I'd have to look at all of the Soldiers cards, but, you've got Negate in that matchup as well. So, I guess, like, there's a lot of different options, but I'd probably want to try and find a copy for another one, but that they all seem to be playing 1 or 2. And then some Kaidos and Negates and things. They're just kind of slowing down, and with most of the stuff that you're playing in the red-black shells, so like Angels, just straight red-black, or against Grixis, all the creatures have got like either enters the battlefield triggers, or they've got, they're hard to kill, or that sort of stuff. So like getting things on the stack is actually really important. And I think that's where I like these ones. I like countering spells. I find it's look, it can be hard to hold up, but at the same time, there's always something to do with your mana, and having copies of Bankbuster and stuff like that let you do that quite efficiently as well. So you get less punished, and I think that it's having that additional flexibility is really strong.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm just, whilst you're talking there, I'm studying the sideboard. I think just like the deck lists, Hemsey and Jedi's have gone one way and Lyndon's kind of landed in the middle somewhere. So what I like about Jedi's sideboard is 2 copies of the Black March for, against aggro decks, or just that extra removal. But I really like the copy of Misery's Shadow. So it's 1 and black for a 2/2. If a creature an opponent control would die, exile it instead, and then you can pump it. So, with Sarah Paragons and Lisas and things running around.
Or just the underdogs on the other side as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just trade with the underdog and it's gone, right? Like, it's just, like, that's an interaction that'll come up. Lyndon, I like Lyndon's just gone for more mid-range with Duresses, Brotherhoods, and Soul Transfers, Sorens, right? It's just like good cards that, are very specific for the matchups. But my favorite sideboard out of the these decks is Hemsey, I think. Although, actually, I'm doing Royce a disservice here because we renamed.
We did. His is definitely a Grixis deck as well.
He's definitely a Grixis deck, but yeah, I sorted by name. So, Royce's sideboard seems more as aligned with Lyndon's, but the Siphon Insight is pretty good in just a mid-range slugfest. So I think that's a good one. But
I just saw what you like in Hemsey's sideboard.
Teferi.
Yeah.
So, Temporal Firestorm, great.
Also that. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim. It just has 0 draw a card, Cracker. Like,
sure does.
It's we're just talking about the mid-range slugfest with Siphon Insight out of Rolling Royce's sideboard, but Hemsey is going even bigger. So when you look at what Hemsey can do, people are going to have a lot of removal spells, but he's got Lilianas, he's got Kaitos, he's got Teferis, he's got Disdainful Strokes. He definitely takes a more controlling route, or has the option to take a more controlling route post-board. So, yeah, I like what Hemsey's doing out of the sideboard here.
He's also got a one of Dreams of Steel and Oil in the main, which is a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it. Then choose an artifact or creature card from their graveyard and exile those chosen cards.
Not bad.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a turn 1 play. You can trade off a couple of things and then stop them rebuying something. So And yeah, it just seems really good in what we're seeing here.
And we've
everyone's got creatures, everyone's got artifacts.
Yeah, and
Great.
we've seen in previous finals that Hemsy's quite good at his silver bullets, his one-offs as well. So,
look, man, you put them in there to draw them.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, like these decks, Kaitos and Fables and
they see a lot of cards.
Corpse Appraisers. Yeah. They see a lot more cards in Modern Magic than we have in the past. So, yeah. So, what do you think about the Grixis deck? Is this more your jam?
It is. Yeah.
That says counter spells. It says draw cards.
Yeah, just counter spells. There's just also, I don't know. I think that I like the package a little more. Like, I think that the mana will probably bite someone at some point, but I like the additional versatility that I get by adding blue. And like Corpse Appraiser has just done some really stupid things.
Yeah.
Like that card was one I didn't understand until I saw it played in one of our leagues, and I was just like, oh my goodness.
Well, I talked about
it just does so much work.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about copying Blood Tithe Harvester with Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but copying Corpse Appraiser, that's it's a spicy meatball, that one. So yeah, that's kind of the more represented decks. So let's get into some of the more spicy ones. What jumps out at you?
Ooh, let's we've talked about soldiers a couple of times. Maybe let's chop over and have a look at Mr. M, who is packing the blue-white soldiers deck.
He's our lone soldier pilot here as well. So certainly a deck that is popular on Arena, and I think if you look at a lot of the sideboards and even some main deck choices, I think people were conscious of this deck, and only Mr. M's the only one that's sleeved it up. So turns out there's a lot of soldiers in Standard Cracker.
There is a lot, and that's great. Like it was one of those things where we weren't sure initially whether like blue-white soldiers would be a thing. This is to be clear, this is like mono-white splashing blue. There's there's 8 copies of blue cards in the main deck, but it is very much a white deck. Yeah,
absolutely. But those blue cards do add a nice value. So Harbin Vanguard Aviator is white and a blue for a 3/2 flyer. I mean, love it. Although you usually pay just 1 blue for your 3/2 flyers, I understand. But it's obviously, Harbin's a soldier. Whenever you attack with 5 or more soldiers, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying until. So when your deck's all soldiers and has the ability to make soldier tokens, this card just lets you go over the top. This is kind of your finisher. It's a great 2-drop, aggressive 2-drop, but it's also, it's not when Harbin and 5 other creatures attack. It's just whenever you attack with. So this is your overrun, effectively. And then there's there's so many of those things, because you've got like Valiant Veteran, other soldiers you control get +1/+1 in the trenches, creatures you control get +1/+1. Like there are so many anthems built into this. Yeah, absolutely. There's which is great with Sky Strike Officer, which is 3 mana, 2/3 flyer. Whenever this attacks, you create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token. And then you can tap 3 untap soldiers you control to draw a card, which is, that gives the aggressive white-based, effectively, white weenie deck card draw in the long game, which is amazing. And, also just, with all of the anthems, those 1/1s, they don't stay 1/1s for long.
Nope. I tell you one thing I really like in this is that they're playing 4 copies of Thalia, which is great. Like, the plan here is pretty self-evident, right? It is go wide, go low, and get them dead very quickly. But Thalias can slow down enough to kind of, do what you need to do. But Resolute Reinforcements is raise the alarm, but on a creature.
Yeah, it's on an actual card.
Yeah. So rather than it being an instant, which is, I think that's really cute. And so there are no instants or sorceries in the main deck here. You've got Brutal Cathars as... Actually, that's not true. Sorry, there's Kayla's Reconstruction. Apologies. There's 3 copies of that.
That's your late game
Definitely.
So it's not so bad there. Like you can afford to play that and Thalia when everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
And that there's 5 non-creature cards in between the Reconstruction and the Trenches. So yeah, it's Thalia is well and truly out, which is great.
Yeah.
The Ocean Frontliner is an interesting card as well. Sort of a draft chaff, but has enough synergy, and just having Unearth as a way to just force through some damage is very good as well. So I don't think that counts as casting.
No, it doesn't.
It does not. No.
No, you just return it from the graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, and Recruitment Officer is such a good Savannah Lines. Like, wow. Like,
yeah.
1 mana, 2/1. Soldier, great. Yep, gets in there, but then is a mana sink later on and a card advantage engine. So, I played Savannah Lines over the journey, and drawing a Savannah Lines on turn 6 can be pretty underwhelming. But if it's Savannah Lines plus an extra card, then I'm in. So I think a very, very good upgrade to everyone's favorite cat. So sideboard, you talked about the disruption of Thalia. We've got Anointed Peacekeepers, which is pretty good. I like that. Protecting Negotiators is great. Actually, also makes a soldier.
Yep.
Hello, yeah.
Yep.
I always thought it was a spirit. Assumed it was a spirit. But yeah, when I read that, I was just like, okay, let's see what's up there. So that's, you get to play a bit of a fish game, which is quite cool. Yeah, it's got Loran of the third path as well. So, an interesting, sideboard option there. Hey, some card advantage, killing Fable of the Mirror Breakers.
It's not really card advantage. I think it's just there as a Rec Sage, right? Like just ETB killer thing, because I don't think your average card quality is high enough that you want to draw a card or let your opponent draw a card.
Yeah, but it's a good Rec Sage. It's a good Rec Sage.
It is an excellent Rec Sage. Yeah, for sure.
And then Wandering Emperor, obviously.
Yep.
So the mana base is great. It's also
Mistress Foundries as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's why not, right? Like it's a good creature land. Decks like this want creature lands. We haven't had creature lands in standard for the last until Brothers War hit with rotation. So this is the one we have, and it's fine. It's not, it's not Raging Ravine or any of that cycle, but it's it does a pretty good Mutavault
it's even Mistress Workshop.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mutavault. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if Mutavault would have all creature types to get the soldier synergies would be better. But, yeah. So I like this deck. I like this deck a lot. I could see me having this as like my best of one deck on Arena.
Sure.
So, yeah, like playing on my phone, waiting for the kids to go to sleep, jamming some soldiers at people. So, yeah, I think it's great. It's a good deck. I think it has the tools to beat the bigger mid-range decks, but I think there's just so many bigger mid-range
I think it's going to have a really good game one and really hard time in the post-board games.
Yeah. So, yeah. And as I said, I think a lot of the decks have made card choice line. So, the deck's got game, not counting Mr. M out, because Mr. M's obviously a great player, but
100%.
I do feel like he'll be fighting uphill all.
So, from one all-creature deck to another all-creature deck, we've got Tom D running back his Esper Legends.
Well, it won a league.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's clearly done him well. I don't see any... Lauren of the Third Path, which makes sense because it's a Esper Legend, but go for the throat. There's not a lot of pickups that we've got here.
There's a Gix.
But
yeah, I mean, basically just had a look at what's come out of the
Brothers War,
the Brothers War, and added some in. So I don't remember seeing Radabradic.
Yeah, no, it was definitely in there.
Oh, it was. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
For sure.
So yeah, 4 Thalia, 4 Sheoldred, bunch of Adelines, Denix, Elias. Like, we've seen this deck in action. It took down our last league and qualified Tom for this event.
Mm-hmm.
It's disruptive. It's aggressive. It plays Rafine, so it sees a lot of its deck. And, it's 27 land. He's always going to hit that 4th land for Sheoldred on turn 4. Yep. And yeah, this deck's, it's really powerful. You look at it and you're like, Tom, is this a bit of a meme? And it's actually really good.
It surprised me. I think this was the most surprising deck out of the, winning it aside. Just watching how it played out, it just looks like a pile of cards that don't make any sense. And that just all comes together. It just plays so much better than it looks, and it's one of those things you just kind of have to understand. And Tom has clearly taken the same approach of, I know how to play this deck. I know what I'm doing against a bunch of mid-range things, and I've got a few little upgrades here and there, and just running it back based on reps and knowledge rather than trying to chase the new best thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sideboard's interesting as well. There's cut downs and knockout blow, very much prepared for the aggressive decks that we don't have a lot of, but that some of those cards may come in. Then disdainful strokes, negates, and make disappears. So can definitely has that counter suite that can come in against those other mid range decks or those decks that are trying to be bigger. So well set up sideboard. A deck Tom knows well has a Thalia into Adeline into Sheoldred. That's a curve, right? Or or even you throw in a Rafine there somewhere, and Rafine plus Sheoldred. That's a lot of cards. It's a lot of life gained, and things like that. So there's a lot of things in this deck that it does really, really well, and. Yeah, I think it's great. Plaza of Heroes, everything's a legend. So you've got a Glimmer Void, City. So it's I like this deck a lot, and it's kind of a bit of a known quantity in the hands of Tom as well. So I think Tom will go deep with this as well. So yeah,
he plays it well for sure. So kind of down into the last few here. Let's keep going with... We're chatting about aggressive decks. We've actually got a couple of monocolor decks.
We do.
So we've got Hammerai, who's bringing mono red.
Yeah,
the Shorty special.
So, yeah, I we'll do some predictions at the end here, and, Shorty is, yelling at his headphones at the moment saying mono red. But we did actually mention a couple of times the number of pain lands in some of the 3-color decks, and that will play into Hammerai's hands. So yeah, this is mono red comes and goes, and we've seen Shorty play things on stream and hasn't been 100% happy with the the options that he's come up with, but this seems really good, right? So I think there's some additions here that Hammerai has that I have not seen on other decks playing that I think are a big difference, and the Elder Dragon War is one of them. So yeah. So just being able to rebuy your hand or just 4 mana for a 4/4 dragon, that's fine. That's a good top end. It's I like this a lot. It complements, that extra 4-drop with Thundering Raiju. So yeah, all of the usual suspects that we've seen, Phoenix Chicks and Bloodthirsty Adversaries, but Monastery Swiftspear seems good. Reckless Storm Chase is great, but it's got 2 copies of Feldon, Ronom Excavator. So what does Feldon do?
He is 1 and red for a 2/2 with haste. He can't block. And whenever Feldon is dealt damage, exile that many cards from the top of your library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So he is a red card that sees more cards. So, not strictly card advantage, but is a
can trade and then...
It's a 2-2 with haste, though. Like, you just don't get a lot of those in more recent kind of standards. So I think on that strength alone, you'd probably see some number of play. There's 2 copies, so it's not like we're going super deep because you don't really want to draw multiples.
Well, but he's a legend, And Bloodthirsty Adversary, 2 mana, 2-2 with haste. So, like, copies 5 and 6 is Feldon's sort of floor, and then you might get an extra card out of it. Like, you might, attack in, like, suicide attack him and get a lightning strike or another creature out of it. It says you can play that card. You might also hit a land drop that you're missing. So, which is pretty gas.
So, fundamental problem with this deck. Still just can't beat Sheoldred. You've got Rending Flames in the sideboard as your answer.
Yep.
3 mana, deal 5. That's it, right? Like, I'm not seeing anything else that just cleanly deals with it. So you just got to...
You've got to get tricky with first strike damage on a Phyrexian Dragon Engine out of the board, and
they're just not going to block spell. Though. Yeah. Like they just never block.
Yeah.
You need to double up.
Yeah.
Like play with fire into lightning strike or something like that, and hope that you're triggering a bunch of prowess triggers on your Swift Spear and punching through those last few points. But
Sheoldred's a problem for the mono red decks, and it's there's a lot of Sheoldreds in the format, so it's so I'm not sure how Hammer Eye's going to go.
I like the idea.
It could just do mono red things and get things. It could. I could see him doing some damage, but I think there's just too many Sheoldreds and Archangels of Wrath and
Sweepers as well. The Brothers' War, whatever it's called. No, the
Brotherhood's End. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah,
like everything is 3 toughness or less.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So this might be a similar situation to the Blue White Soldiers deck, where it's a great game 1 and then will be uphill.
Yeah. The difference there is that, like, at least with the Soldiers deck, you get some amount of stack interaction, whereas here it's just like you're playing effectively face up.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, sometimes it is just good enough, and sometimes, you're just kind of riding on the fact that your opponents are playing a 3-color mana base, and it can be painful, and they can miss a color, and like we've all had it. Like, everyone's lost games to their mana bases, right? So this is the deck that you don't get. You get 1 extra turn. You don't get 3. Like, exactly right. Like it will kill you very quickly and out of nowhere. But I'm very keen to see it play. I just don't know how well it's going to go against Grixis.
It could do some damage, but I don't know if this is a deck that'll take down the Invi. I'm happy to be wrong, and I'll eat my words, Hammer Eye. But
for sure.
I think that's. I think there's just too many Sheoldreds. So you mentioned monocolored decks.
I did.
So we've got a mono red, then we've got a mono black.
We do. Mr. Mudd has gone back to his roots a little bit here and has brought an evolved sleeper deck. And let me tell you, I lost to many copies of Evolved Sleeper out of Chomud in the last league we played. He just kept just Delver decks can't beat one of these things ever. It's just impossible.
So this is interesting, this deck though, isn't it?
It's got some spice in it, man. So cut down Evolved Sleepers, Misery Shadow, and then we're into some interesting cards. So Razor Lash Transmogrant, which is a 2-mana 3/1, can't block, with a bunch of extra texts that may come up.
Yep, if
Tenacious
the game goes
Underdog.
Well. Yep.
Yeah. Now, this is a card that I talked about, I remember, in preview season, and I was like, I think this has a shot at being standard playable. I'm right. J-Mud clearly heard me. I'm taking full credit for this card being good, unless it's bad, and then it's his fault. Transmogrant's Crown. 2 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever a equipped creature dies, draw a card, and you can equip it for black. So, I mean, you've got 19 swamps and 2 Takanumas. So there's only 3 lands in your deck that don't tap for black.
Which are Mishra's Foundries, yeah.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's just a one-off, and, it lets you, attack in, hopefully trade up on some mana, and get a card out of it. So, a bit of a 2-for-1. which is great. And, you know, when you've got things like Evolved Sleepers getting Death Touch, you know, they can definitely trade up with some of the bigger bodies running around as well. So yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a one-of. It's a bit spicy, and it's been a hot minute since we've seen an equipment do anything in standard. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. Hope J-Mud draws it, and it's also a full complement of the Phyrexian Flesh Gourd. Which I
mean, this is the deck for it.
This is the perfect deck for it.
Like 3 mana, 3/3, Menace Lifelink is what you're going to see on turn 3 anytime he has this.
Yeah.
I don't see why that's not what you're just slamming. And Takanumas to rebuy it later on.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. And then, Sheldreds and Invokes as well, like super powerful top end. And we're just talking before about, like, you know, getting punished for your greedy mana bases. He's never going to get punished for that as long as he hits his lands.
And he's got 24 lands, so
he does.
You know, that's great. And then the sideboard 4 Duress. So
love it.
Yeah, I think that's great. 3 Liliana, a cut down. Malicious Malfunction is an interesting one. It's a Kamigawa
Infest.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So yeah, just like kill all you. So good against the Soldiers deck. So this is one of those examples where we've everybody's got the Soldiers deck in mind. Some Bankbusters and Sorens to go long, and a couple of hearses to stop the Sarah Paragon Shiggins. So yeah, I actually really like this deck. I think this is it's a bold choice, but this is something that J-Mud's had a bunch of success with recently, and it's got game. It doesn't have the problem that the mono red deck where it can't deal with Sheoldreds. It doesn't have the problem with the Soldiers deck where its creatures without the anthems can be a bit anemic. It can tangle with the Grixis and Mardu decks pretty well, I think. So I'm interested to see how it goes. I can see J-Mud having a good run here.
Yeah, me too. I actually really like this. I think that the more aggressive slant might actually just be the way to go.
Yep.
And yeah, just, super clean mana base and just applying lots of pressure, followed up with, the disruption and kind of those big I win cards still.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah. Still, yeah, like one drop aggressive creatures,
like.
And then one drop aggressive creatures, and then despairs to effectively close the game out is great. So yeah, I think we've only got one deck.
We do,
and I mentioned it right at the start. So like we've got a bunch of plains, we've got a bunch of mountains, we've got a bunch of swamps. And a little sprinkling of islands.
2 forests.
And then, Azzy G.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we saw this deck in the last finals, or a version of. The lone green deck in our top 16. What is Azzy G doing, Cracker? What
He's
is up?
Storming, mate. Azzy loves it. He loves Storm the Festival.
That's a great card.
This is a really interesting looking deck. It's Bant, obviously, as we've just described the metabase, but yeah, Bant Storm the Festival with Denix and Intrepid Adversaries and kind of a, like, Catilda, so like you can apply a little bit of early pressure, but then Wedding Announcement, I love this. We've got a one of Urza and a one of the Mightstone and Weakstone.
Both of which you can hit off Storm the Festival, Cracker.
You sure can. I want to see it. I want to see it melded. I want to see him do the thing. I don't care if it's not good. I just want to see it happen.
Yeah, like it's amazing, right? Like it's but also like Urza just makes you Storm the Festival cheaper, right?
Yep.
It's a 3 mana 2/4. Like it's a fine card on its own, but it also has that like, oops, I did a thing, button at the end. So yeah, and I think this is great, and we we
talked about this a fair bit the last time, and like every card in this deck except for Storm the Festival is a permanent that you can hit on Storm the Festival.
Yep.
I mean, you've got just bombs in like Elspeth, Wandering Emperor, Ren and 7, AO, Grafted Identity to steal their thing, So it's kind of just it's a ramp strategy. It's set up and pay off, right? That's all we're trying to do is Storm into more copies of Storm.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes this good and what makes all ramp decks good is things are actually castable without without hitting the payoff. So even if you don't have Storm, you can still cast turn 4 Giant Planeswalk, things like that. So,
yeah, correct. You're not ramping to like 10 drops that are
uncastable,
just unplayable. Yep. You've just got an actually really reasonable deck, but this is just kind of a bury in value card. And like every time we see, he did whiff kind of hard a couple of times on the Storm the Festivals, but we also saw some absolute bangers out of him in the last finals. So I expect that will be the case again on Saturday. Yeah,
I think so. And there's a lot of mid-range decks here, right? Like there's no hard control decks. So there's some decks with some counter magic, but there's no like blue-black control-esque builds. There's no there's very little like hard aggro. There's a lot of mid-range, and Storm the Festival is the epitome of the bigger mid-range card. So I if he can dodge the make disappears and negates, then this could definitely go all the way. It's definitely got the power to do that. And sideboard has a lot of ops as well. So Destroy Evil, that deals with Sheoldred. That's good. So does Disdainful Stroke. Farewell is great. We've got Lauren of the Third Path as well. Some Hearse. Welcoming Vampire is actually great because that triggers a lot of the smaller creatures. The Denix and the Catildas and the Creepers to. Yeah, and of course, Wedding Announcement to draw a bunch of cards as well. So I like that in the mid-range battles as well. So yeah, I think this deck's really interesting. It's one of the cooler decks, definitely in the format, and I think it's also just got a lot of potential. So I'm interested to cover this one.
100%. All right, so you know what time it is.
Prediction time.
Bold, wild predictions based on no knowledge of how these deck plays against each other.
Yeah, I've given it a little thought, but before we get into predictions, I'll just run through the metagame because we did jump around a little bit. So
sure,
yeah, Penchair, Rakdos Midrange, Azzy G, Bant Festival, Autolycus, Mardu Angels, Mr. M, Blue White Soldiers, Wungasith, Mardu Angels, J Mud, Mono Black, Sarah Soldiers, Mardu Angels, Rolling Royce, Moist Rakdos, which is just Grixis deck. Elwall or Linden's Grixis Midrange, Map, Rakdos, Hammer Eye, Mono Red, Plunks, Mardu Angels, Jedi's, Grixis, AV Cable, Tom D, Esper Legends, Hemsey on Grixis, and Insanity on Mardu Angels. I think, and looking at the bracket, I think Sarah beats Map in the first round and then progresses all the way through to our grand final with her Angels list. Azzy G loses to Hemsey and drops to the lower bracket, and then Storm the Festivals his way through the lower bracket, meets Sarah in the grand final. Sarah has him dead on board. He top decks a Storm the Festival and hits the Urza Mightstone Weakstone combo. The Mightstone is the removal spell. Urza is a blocker that lets Azzy live. Next turn, melds. Urza wins the game and the Invi. That's my bold prediction.
That may well be the boldest prediction we've ever had for any of these.
It's very specific.
It is incredibly specific. It also feels like maybe it was written by the AI bot that Azzy used, but
I have been accused of being a bot in some games that I've played. Yes. So, what about you? What's your prediction? Do you have a serious one?
This is really tough. So I feel like I've actually got to know a bunch of these players more in the last few months. Meeting a bunch of them in person and playing with them and just kind of hanging out.
Are you getting emotional over your players?
No, not at all, man. I'm just like, there is just some monsters, man. Yeah. Like Henchair and Map are on fire.
Yeah.
Like, they are playing out of their minds. Jedi's is Mythic rank number 1, like a month and a half ago or something like that.
Insanity runs around in the Mythic, upper Mythics as well.
You don't get there by mistake. Like, these people are just unreal good. And I don't know. I just don't know how you pick it. I'm going to do it again because I kind of want him to win. I'm going to put my J-Mud. All right. I think the mono black deck has actually got the tools. People are going to stumble on their mana, and I'm gonna say I don't know that it's the best deck, but I kind of like it.
I like it, and J-Mud would be a deserving winner as well, I think. So, I would not be upset if J-Mud won. And
I'm not upset by anybody winning. This is just going to be unreal.
J-Mud's also got a great token suggestion as well.
Does he?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that.
All right, I haven't looked at that.
So, yeah. So we've gone long, like we do. One last thing, I'm just going to run through a list real quick to let people know what these players are actually playing for. Like we talked about cash and prizes and tokens and such, but what will happen is from 1st to 16th, we'll have a draft of the prizes. So think prize wall. First place gets their first pick. Last place gets the last pick. So Double Masters draft box. The later Double Masters. Not the
2022.
Yeah. Brothers War collector booster box. $200 cash. Baldur's Gate set booster box. DMU Jumpstart box. 2 DMU commander decks. Zendikar Expedition Bloodstained Mire. Old Border Foil Scalding Tarn, $300 cash. Urza's Saga Tolarian Academy. Brothers War set box, $100 cash. Ultimate Masters Cavern of Souls. Modern Horizons 2 bundle. Borderless Endurance, $50 cash. Each player will also get a Magic Beans 2022 playmat. Just for... and the winner gets a sweet trophy at the end as well. So, like, that all adds up. That's well over $3,000 in cash and prizes up on offer there. So, there's a lot on the line here. This is real stakes. Real stakes.
For sure. Yeah. I love it, and I really like the way that we do this. Where some people would want the Tolarian Academy for their Joyra Artifact Commander deck or something like that, right?
I think it's bent. But yeah.
It is too, isn't it? But, there are cards like that where you just...
It's a reserve list card.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas some people are just like, I mean, that's great, but I only play Magic on Arena. I'll take $300 cash.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really liked it. We've tried to give everyone as much choice in this. And, you win, you get to... It's the rare draft at the end of the draft, mate. You get to pick the thing you want.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's having that agency is great. Magic players love decisions. That's why we play this game. So, that's awesome. So, we kick off on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time. So, set your alarms and come in and join us. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff to give away on stream. So, it's not just the players. You come hang out, you hashtag Beans giveaway, and there will be packs and cards and all sorts of stuff that we are throwing around left, right, and center. So this is our big end of year event that we're pulling out all of the stops. We're cleaning out the cupboards. Anything we've got lying around that we could possibly give away will be coming your way. So tune in, and it's going to be super fun, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think that about does it. We'll just keep it short in terms of the wrap up. If you want to check us out or any of the things we do, magicbeanscast.com has all the links to all the places that you can find us. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. Magic Beans Cast, kind of everywhere. Huge thank you, as always, to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Please go and check them out. They really do let us put this on. There's no way that the Beans, as much as we love this and we're happy to dedicate our time, we don't have the kind of money to put this sort of prize pool together just year after year. This is the 3rd year we've done it, and we love it, in addition to all the other stuff that we've done throughout the year, all the prizes that we have. So please, even if you don't buy stuff from Pat and Josh, just let them know that you're there. Ping them a message and say, hey, I'm checking things out. hit him up if there's something you're looking for as well. That's something that people don't necessarily know. You can shoot Pat a message and say, hey, I'm wondering if you've got a playset of these and things. He's got every card under the sun. So
Literally
just because
did
it's not
that this week, Cracker, where I was messaging him, paying for a lot that I won, and I'm building a new commander deck, and I'm like, hey, have you got any of this and that? And he got back to me like the next day, and he's like, yep, here they are. Here's the prices, which were better than like, you know, CK 1-to-1, and you know, they're just in the mail with the lot that I won. So it's a great service. Great service.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much. All right, so if you want to see me, just come hang out on Saturday. We will. That is honestly the best thing you can do. If it's past Saturday, the 10th of December, then watch the VOD. It'll be up on YouTube at some point as well. But come hang out. Otherwise, you can. The best place is Discord for kind of chatting to any of us. But if you want to hang out with us on Twitter, you can do that. I am at JoelHill_, and Chewy, you are
at ChewyMTG.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful couple of days, and we will see you on the stream.